You probably don't think about satellites. I mean, why would you? Most people don't. But they're behind almost everything that you do think about. Your maps, texts, bank transfers, even the time on your phone. And if one key satellite goes down, that's when things get weird real fast. Flights have to be rerouted, deliveries stall, and nobody's quite sure why. There wasn't a boom, there's no broadcast about it. There's just a hole in the system. That's what makes it useful. If you're gonna knock a country off balance and you want to do it quietly, you don't need to start with a missile. You start by making something stop working. Welcome to this week's brief by Midweek Sit Rep. Quick intel drops to keep you sharp, situationally aware, and one step ahead. I'm Jerry Fowler, and I'm your host. This is the first brief in our series on surveillance and space warfare. So if you haven't listened to episode 12 yet, you should give it a listen. Today, we're heading above the clouds and into orbit to understand how space became the newest front in a war that hasn't even been declared and may already be underway. So let's break it down. Satellites are the new targets. Every part of your daily life relies on satellites. GPS, internet, ATM withdrawals, flight paths. Even the timestamp when you make a wire transfer. All of it depends on infrastructure you can't see, floating 22,000 miles above your head. And here's the problem. It's vulnerable. Russia, China, and the US have all proven anti-satellite capabilities. Missiles, lasers, jammers, spoofing tools. Some are designed to destroy, others to disable, silently. This isn't theoretical. In 2021, China tested a satellite with a robotic arm that could potentially grab or move other satellites. In 2022, Russia jammed GPS signals over Ukraine, interfering with both military and civilian systems. Taking out one satellite can ripple across the entire continent, disrupting drones, delaying logistics, crippling banks, confusing troops. Because up there, there's no battlefield protocol, just physics, secrecy, and leverage. Let's take a quick break. If you haven't signed up for the Midweek Sit Rep Substack, now's the time. I'm giving away a free Everything is National Security Dad hat to one subscriber, randomly selected between now and July 31st. There won't be any announcements or shout-outs. I'll contact the winner privately. Just head to midweeksitrep.substack.com and sign up for the Insider Brief. It's your direct line to deeper insights, sources, and the stories behind the headlines. No spam, no fluff, just situational awareness delivered. All right, back to the show. Let's talk about Starlink. Originally designed to beam broadband internet to rural users, it's now a critical part of Ukraine's battlefield communications. Soldiers use it to coordinate, to strike, to survive. It's become so essential, Russian forces have tried to jam it repeatedly. Meanwhile, drones built by Chinese companies like DJI, sold as consumer tech, have been weaponized on both sides of the Ukraine war. They weren't built for war, but here we are. That overlap between civilian tech and military use, it's not hypothetical anymore, it's here. And it raises tough questions about supply chains, ownership, and control. The tools we build for convenience can end up shaping the way conflicts unfold. So who really owns the sky? Private companies now control most of the orbital real estate we depend on. SpaceX, Amazon, OneWeb, dozens of startups. They launch fast, deploy globally, and are building constellations of satellites that governments increasingly rely on, not just for convenience, but for command, control, and communications in wartime. But here's the tension. These companies aren't part of the chain of command. They answer to shareholders, not generals. Their terms of service were written for consumers, not countries at war. So what happens if a private satellite becomes a target in a conflict? Or worse, if it becomes a weapon? In future wars, we may not just need air superiority. We will need orbital access and the cooperation of CEOs to fight. Another quick break. Do you want to support the show and look good while doing it? Of course you do. You can now get your official midweek sit rep merch at everythingisnationalsecurity.com. Hats, shirts, and gear for the everyday listener who knows everything is national security. Whether you're commuting, rucking, or breaking down geopolitics over brunch, rep the mission. That's everythingisnationalsecurity.com, where strategy meets style. Look, I know you're not going to stop a satellite war. And I know you're probably sitting there thinking, what can I do about this? But I think there are some things that you can do. You can build some resiliency in your own life. Ask yourself, what happens if the systems I rely on go down, just for a few hours? Could you still navigate without GPS? Could your team still operate if cloud services go offline? Do you have access to key files, contacts, phone numbers, or tools locally if networks break? Listen, you don't have to go full doomsday prepper, but depending entirely on a satellite-connected infrastructure with zero backups, that's a vulnerability. The more you understand the systems you rely on, and the more you think in terms of options, not just defaults, the better position you'll be when something unexpected happens. Because it probably won't look like an attack. It'll look like a glitch. Until it doesn't. Next week on Midweek Sit Rep, we go further into our surveillance and space warfare arc with episode 13, Spy Balloons and Surveillance Nation. We'll see you there. That's your brief. If this episode got you thinking, don't let the conversation stop here. Head over to the Insider Brief on Substack and subscribe. It's where we dig deeper, answer your questions, and preview what's next. And if you sign up before July 31st, you just might win a hat. We're also on YouTube, where you'll find short clips, interviews, and bonus content. Make sure to subscribe there if you haven't already. And if you want to support the show, go to everythingisnationalsecurity.com and pick up a shirt or a hat. It helps keep Midweek Sit Rep independent and growing. Subscribe, share, stay sharp. I'm Jerry Fowler, and remember, everything is national security. See you next time. Midweek Sit Rep with Jerry Fowler is an independent production of OpScent Media Group, LLC. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, financial, or professional advice. Listeners should consult with a qualified professional before making any decisions based upon the content discussed. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host, Jerry Fowler, and any guest, and do not reflect the official policy, position, or endorsement of any current or former employer, client, government agency, military organization, educational institution, or any other entity for which the host, Jerry Fowler, may be affiliated. Mention of a company, product, or service does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation. Any references are provided for informational purposes only. This podcast does not disclose any classified, proprietary, or confidential information. All discussions are based upon publicly available information and personal expertise. Everything's national security. OpScent Media Group, LLC.